Hey yo, what's going on? What's going on, beautiful people? What's happening, beautiful people? I'm CJ Lawrence, Esquire, CEO of Black with No Chaser, and I am here with Cirilo Monego. And we're gonna chop it up with you for a little while and talk to you about this Tory Lanez trial and what's been happening over the last, I guess, 3 or 4 days now. So, Rilo, what's good, man?
Man, chilling, bro, in the ATL today, dog. You know what I mean? So it's good to be in the
Okay.
South. What's weird though, bro, is before we get into it, I thought I was beating the cold in DC. Kind of find out Atlanta colder than the goddamn DC DMV area. So
For real, man.
um yeah, bro, it's kind of upsetting. I ain't gonna hold you because
You
I'm thinking I'm about to, be chill vibes. I ain't gotta wear extra layers and do all this extra shit. Um, but nah, bro, it's good to be in the A. We get to check out Dion one last time for the Celebration Bowl and see if Jackson State can hold it down. I mean,
oh, they gonna
honestly,
hold it down.
they
No, they
playing Howard, bro. So I don't even know. This is about to be a route. I don't even know. I know this is a side conversation of why we here, but since we here and I'm in Atlanta, I'm just telling y'all right now, whoever, all our Bison fans out there, I just want you to know that it's about to be a route.
JSU and
And
HU.
yeah, cause what happened is, bro, I don't know if you realize, people like, yo, how did Howard win it? Howard had they had a losing record, but they beat the best team in the MEAC, which I think at the time was South Carolina State.
Uh,
They beat them and in a tie break in the conference, right? Because they don't care about wins and losses. It's just all about conference play. So in conference, they're the same record. And then so because of the tie break, Howard ends up winning the MEAC this year to play Jackson State. And bruh, it's about to be an ass whooping. Yeah, I ain't gonna
Man,
lie to you, dog.
look, man, I don't know what's gonna go down. I just know, I believe in the SWAC. I still believe in the SWAC, and I think they're gonna do their thing this weekend. So, you know what I mean? I think it's dope that JSU and HU doing their thing. So it should be fun. That's two fun group of alumni. So if they all down at the same time, it's gonna be a party regardless. So hey, I know people like, damn, this shit ain't got nothing to do with what they supposed to be talking about. But hey, look, this is Black with No Chaser, so we're gonna talk all things black. Welcome to Black People Be Knowing. Again, I'm CJ Lawrence, attorney that's been live tweeting, uh, well, live tweeting and giving analysis on what we've been able to cover in the trial. And this is, an interesting trial in that one, it's not being streamed anywhere. So we're having to rely upon uh, the interpretations and accounts of those who are actually there and live tweeting. Um, One of the best, I would say the best uh, live tweeted thread on the Tory Lanez trial currently is the thread by Megan Cuniff. I hope I'm saying her last name right. But Megan's thread has been pretty consistently thorough, all the way down to giving quotes of testimony, and I think that's important because it's a little different from what you're seeing from the blogs. I mean, this is a legal reporter who works for an outlet that strictly focuses on covering trials and covering the law, and so I think as you consume information, to anybody out there that's been following this trial or you know following the information that's been put out there, as you consume it, be sure to look for people who really understand the law and what's occurring and how to speak to it, because you could be following some blogs who are more so focused on entertainment than they are
Hmm.
the law, and they can be speaking from a blogger slash sensational standpoint and kind of leading you down the wrong path with what to understand about this case.
Hmm.
And so I've seen a lot of that, and I'm not going to necessarily mention any blogs in particular, but I've certainly seen some blogs that have exhibited what I would say is some bias, and maybe even some misunderstanding of how to interpret or apply the law. And so, in that regard, I would definitely encourage people to follow uh, people who are well versed, uh, like Megan Cuniff, in this trial. Uh, now,
So
so
CJ, what you're saying is Google is not a law degree.
It
Is
ain't,
what you
man. Look,
saying.
no, that motherfucker ain't even close to a law degree, and
Ain't
so
even close, cuz.
it's a, you know, I mean, and I know that the Twitter fingers has been popping when it comes to this case because it's one that a lot of people feel a lot of emotions about. Just to kind of give you some feedback on what's occurred so far. Obviously, Megan has testified for the state, both on direct, uh, and she's also been cross-examined. In her testimony, she obviously stated that, you know, Tory Lanez shot her. One of the things that he stated that was stated, you know, was that before shooting at her 5 times, he said "dance, bitch," and in addition to that, uh, she stated that in her testimony that uh, she was offered $1 million by Tory to uh, to be silent. Now, one of the things that I want to say about testifying that's important is that when we are at trial, we do something called invoking the rule. To invoke the rule means to essentially request that no other witnesses be present at the time that any witness is testifying. And the reasoning behind that is because we don't want other witnesses to what we call go to school on another person's testimony. So we don't want them to hear it and then repeat it. We want their testimony to be independent of the other witnesses' testimony so that if their testimonies match or overlap in some type of way, no one can say that the reason it overlaps is because one person is repeating what they heard another person say. So that's important. And the reason that's important is because uh, the witness that was called yesterday was Megan's former good friend Kelsey. Uh, Kelsey's testimony, well, she wasn't called yesterday. She was called 2 days ago. So she's been on the stand for the last 2 days. And she was a state's witness, Cirilo. She was a state's witness,
Mm-hmm.
but her testimony has changed a lot from the time that she went and talked to the police in September about the case and now. It's changed significantly. And I would say that in a lot of ways, she's been a hostile witness. She's been a very difficult witness for the state. Um, because she's been resistant to speaking to what she knows about it. Um, Suddenly, none of the details that she recalled in September, all of them are foggy now. Suddenly, she claims to have not seen Megan get shot, to not see Megan be crawling. She says she heard the gunshots, but she didn't see them. She didn't see uh, Tory. But the thing that does match up, that is really important, is that she did testify that at some point, and she said at some point she was asked by the DA, DA Tar, um, if she was offered $1 million by Tory Lanez. And while she was hesitant, she said, "Not just me." So she was acknowledging and admitting that she was offered $1 million. And what she said in addition to that is that he mentioned $1 million and that she believes that it was about the trial. Um, but that she didn't feel like it was a bribe. She wouldn't characterize it as a bribe, but that he did at some point mention $1 million, and it was in relationship to this trial, and that's significant because obviously, what if you didn't do anything wrong? What do you offer somebody $1 million for? Uh, and again,
Man, I can't. I just can't get a meal, CJ, dog. You know
I
what I
look,
mean? I
man. You
look,
know, I
hey,
look,
bro, let me
I,
get.
I look. I
Hey,
throw
let
you
me get
something,
a
man.
meal, bro. Hey, throw me a little something, bro.
So
I'm looking for a cool meal.
you know what I'm saying? Just because this is just because, Millie. You know what I'm saying? So,
That's it, bro. We ain't
so
going to trial. We ain't going to
the
trial.
reason that's important is if you go back to what I was just saying about going to school on somebody's testimony. If Megan said that Tory offered her $1 million, and if uh, Kelsey also testified to that, then it's beginning to line up that, hey, look, there was $1 million talked about at some point uh, from Tory towards Megan and or Kelsey. And so,
And you
uh-huh,
remember though, and you remember that Megan said that was Tory's way of, or Daystar's way. His real name was Tory Lanez. Uh, Tory's way of trying to hush hush and keep everybody quiet, right? And so
Right.
I'm like reading through, bro. I'm reading through this thread right now
Yeah.
from like I really feel like yo, if y'all have not read Megan Cunnif's thread, right? You can go to CJ Lawrence's Twitter account right now. He actually retweeted that thread. That thread really goes into not just the testimony of Kelsey, but really exactly how the entire 80-minute video is going to be played today.
Yeah.
Because Tory Lanez attorney is a goof. Um,
We're gonna definitely get
and
into that. What
we'll
happened
get it
with
at,
that?
but I know you're going through it. But like, yo, I'm just kind of say like, if you're trying to follow us right now, is what I'm trying to give you a frame of reference. So because it's a lot that's about to be covered, and I want you all to be able to follow as much as humanly possible.
Oh,
So that way in real time you can kind of see exactly what has transpired since day one of the trial. You know what I mean? So from Megan getting to the stand, from Kelsey coming onto the stand, and leading up to where we are today. But this thread here does a really good job of kind of, not word for word, obviously, but going through key points within the Kelsey's testimony that kind of is what really CJ and I are going to get into today, and really more so CJ. I'm just here as backup, y'all. You know what
hey,
I
look,
mean?
man.
Because
Hey, look. Hey, man. Hold me down, bro. Look.
I'm gonna hold it
I
down,
definitely,
man.
I definitely wanted you to pull up because, we do this legal analysis, when big trials happen, and it's always fun because we're speaking to the issues like the people. You know what I mean? Like the thing is we want people to understand what's really happening, and we want to do it in a way that you know is not pretentious. We just want to talk to the people and have them know like this is what's really happening. This is what they said when they said all that shit. This is what they meant, and this is what was intended. And we want to break it down in a plain way that makes sense to everyday people. And so, with that being said, I think we should absolutely get into what's about to go down today. As Cirilo stated, the 80-minute video of Kelsey's original statement made to police has been allowed. The judges allowed the entire 80-minute video to come in. So the jury will get to see that. Why is it significant? Okay, let's go back to the beginning and let me break that down. So Kelsey is the state's witness. What that means is since she's the state witness, the state calls her to the stand. That means the state directs her testimony, and the defense gets the opportunity to cross-examine Kelsey. Now, in this instance, it's been very unique because Kelsey, in a lot of ways, has been a hostile witness because her testimony has changed from her September testimony or September statements that she made to the district attorney's office to now the statements that she's making on the stand. She claims that she has brain fog, that she's in mourning right now, that she's dealing with a lot of things, and so she can't remember uh, much of the events that occurred that night. So what we have at trial at our disposal is something called the ability to bring in prior inconsistent statements. The thing about prior inconsistent statements is essentially what they allow are what would be hearsay statements. A hearsay statement is an out of court statement made for the truth of the matter asserted, right? So if
Break that down. Hold on, break that down, because
I'm a,
like
yeah,
I could even when I remember my first time in evidence, bro, in law school, and
yeah.
I heard that I was like,
What
say
the
it
fuck is the
again.
truth of the matter asserted?
What what
so 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 is for the truth of the matter asserted just essentially means uh I'm offering this evidence to prove that the motherfucker did what I said they did. And
There you
so
go. There you
so
go.
essentially
See, you had to add the motherfucker in there. That
right.
really would.
So
That's what drove it
if I
home.
if I said if I told the police or the DA's office in September on tape that Tory shot Megan, um they couldn't say they couldn't say you said in September, uh Tory you said that. I would literally have to testify again at trial. Tory shot Megan. I can't say that I said Tory shot Megan because even though it's me saying it, it's an out of court statement. And so that's essentially what's happening here. But in the event that someone has a testimony that is conflicting now with what they said in the past, now what's allowed is the ability to use extrinsic evidence like a videotape or your text messages or things that conflict with your current testimony as a witness. Since she is the state's witness, essentially now, and this is unique because it's not the state isn't typically trying to impeach their own witness for their credibility or their past statements. Initially, they tried to refresh her recollection by showing her previous statements, but after she was resistant to that approach, they then used her her tapes or her former testimony solely for the purpose of showing that she had made a statement in the past that is inconsistent with the statement she is making now. It was only limited, that tape at that time was only limited to her conflicting statements. So in the event, if she said, I didn't remember saying that Tory shot Megan in September, they could show her the tape to show where in September she said Tory shot Megan, right? So they could show that to her and the jury, but it would not be introduced as what we call substantive evidence. It wouldn't go in towards the actual case. It would not go back. You know how we say, please accept this into evidence now, right? As exhibit A. It would not go in as an exhibit that would then eventually go back to the jury. Here, though, is where the defense fucked up. When it was the defense's turn to cross-examine, um, Kelsey, they focused in not on what she had testified to today, not on the fact that, not on attacking necessarily her credibility because of her conflicting statements. They focused on the statements she made in September. And by asking the questions about September, what they did was what we call at law opening the door to the scope of what could be asked on
Yep.
redirect by the prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
And since Kelsey was the prosecution's witness, even though she was kind of a hostile witness, I don't know if they ever declared her officially as a hostile witness or requested permission to treat her as a hostile witness, but she was at least uh, non-compliant initially with answering the questions. But
They had characterized her as something else, and I'm trying to look for it, but keep going because I'm
is that
like
like an
they actually,
unresponsive witness or
yeah,
yes,
essentially like she wasn't cooperating, but
right,
it
right,
wasn't it wasn't hostile, but it was another term they used, and Megan actually caught that in the now again, y'all go to Megan. This honestly is probably one of the best threads because there's threads even within the threads. So like
yeah,
every time you
like
press on one, there's like another thread.
yeah,
I don't
like
even know how this woman actually tweeted all this out. I don't even
because
know.
they're not allowed to have computers in there, so she's live tweeting literally from her phone right now, and she's
Word.
taking notes, and she's taking really good notes, so that she's literally got quotes of what was said, what was asked by the prosecution, what was responded, all the way down to details like Kelsey paused for 20 seconds before finally answering the question. Like that's the type of detail that you want to have to be able to really interpret what's going on. I've seen some other threads, man, that's goddamn ridiculous. And if you following that shit, please stop following that shit. Please don't retweet that shit because it is bananas. And so yeah, going back in to why it's significant that Kelsey is their witness is that means they get the last, essentially, normally they get the last bite at the apple with this witness. So when what if I was if I was the defense attorney in this particular case, I would have tried to stay as far away from
From that 80
talking
minute
about
from that
that September thing.
conversation.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
And the reason why is because at that point, the jury had heard it, but it was not coming in as substantive evidence. It was not admitted as an exhibit. It was not seen in its 80-minute entirety. It was not the most significant thing at that moment. It was significant because of what she said at that time, but it was not significant because she was saying something different today. Her testimony yesterday was more favorable to the defense than her testimony in September. But it was conflicting. And because it was conflicting, usually you have the defense trying to attack the credibility of the state's witness. But in this instance, you had the state attacking the credibility of their own witness and, you know, using the September tape as the way to do so. And using her text messages, Tory shot Meg, 911, please help. Those were her text messages as the way.
In short, what you're saying, CJ, is the DA dangled the bait, right?
Yep.
And then the defense took the bait. It really
With
was
they
actually,
goof ass.
yeah, and it really was actually, honestly, you don't really see as, and I hate to say this because I've been in courtrooms and I know you've been in courtrooms, but I always the state's attorneys ain't the best. I ain't gonna lie, they ain't
That's
as
facts.
crafty. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know why that is, but they just not as as crafty. But the DA and the assistant DA in this particular case, I think outmatching, the defense here, and again, this is not me seeing it, nobody's seeing it, but literally hearing you and reading these tweets, you looking at somebody that's getting outmatched for real.
Yeah, she is.
Said
She's definitely hostile, even if she ain't hostile for sure, Lisa. That's facts.
Bro.
Yeah, Rilo. Go ahead.
I really because like one thing that like pops out to me, since we kind of talk about this 80-minute like tape is gonna be like literally everybody's gonna hear and see
It's
the
going
entire
in, huh? It's that
80-minute, which is gonna be I think the thing that really does kind of like put the nail in the coffin for Tory, because to be honest, like what Kelsey said right that night, and really, so there was the also the text messages, right? There were the
right.
text messages that said that, hey, and in the DA, they actually I think it was Ty, that DA Ty or ADA Ty that questioned this, but talking about the actual shot when Meg was shot, and she kind of she hit a text someone talking about, hey, Meg was shot, dial
Yeah.
911. And so
Yes.
like it like
She was texting the security guard. She was texting
yeah.
Meg security.
Now, and it's a bunch like, dog. This is crazy, man. Because like I don't know how Kelsey can get on that stand, and I don't want to say she's lying flat out, but she's definitely not telling the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's like a lot of omission.
I mean, oh yeah,
And
she yeah. Yeah,
what you
you
gonna say?
facts. So I had Big Pony Polo DC say prosecution's looking bad. I based on my experience, Polo, as a trial attorney for the last 15 years, I would say they're not looking bad at all. And I would say
Yeah, they
that,
actually looking better than most. I'm telling you.
yeah, I would say that getting that tape in is like
Huge.
the equivalent of sinking somebody's ship. Like they you know what I mean? Like it's like sinking a battleship in a sense that this full 80 minutes of detail is not normally coming in. It wouldn't have come in, and it certainly wouldn't have not been totally viewed by the jury. Essentially, everything that Kelsey fudged through, with the understanding that she was that she was a resistant witness. Understand that Tory's lawyer's position is they're trying to make it that Kelsey did it, or
Mm-hmm.
make people say, "Hey, look, it wasn't Tory. Kelsey's the one that did the shooting." Kelsey
Not on that.
testified. Go ahead.
I'm about to say on the topic though, right? Because there was a response that the shade room, and now and actually into evidence now, that someone said that Kelsey shot Megan, and then Tory, not his account. Now again,
Yeah.
Tory actually said, I think to some degree, that he doesn't run his account, so that wasn't him who said it. Now it's like kind of like, is he, because he's in possession of his account, does he now, what I'm saying? Because we don't know who has the
Who was
control
running his account when he was going live on Instagram
that's what I'm saying.
during
Like I mean,
2020? Like, I
and
mean,
and
everybody,
doing,
Tory Lanez was going live all 2020 on Instagram. Like
but
the
the
man,
but the shade the shade room pic I'm referring to is a
Yeah.
pic of him replying saying that Kelsey did not. Uh,
You want me to share your? You want to send it to me? I'll share your screen.
that's
I'll
not
share it on your
true.
screen.
It's a no, because it's a shade room. All he
Oh
says
yeah,
is
I
that
know it.
he replies to some random person. He replies to some random person that says that Kelsey shot Megan, and then he replies, "That's not true."
Right. Yeah, I remember
Right.
seeing that.
So you know what I mean? And then
Uh,
Brissy, what I'm saying, I'm bringing this up because it kind of bleeds into what you were talking about just now about really like who was the shooter, so on and so forth,
right.
and into Kelsey's testimony. And it's really like, yo, like they're trying to make her to be the shooter, but Tory
Right.
already, by way of admission on the shade room, because he just can't keep his damn mouth shut, already
Mhm.
admitted that that's not true. That Kelsey, not now,
Did
now,
not is not the
but
shooter.
they're trying to twist it up, right? And say like,
Right.
even though he said that that's not true, they're trying to say that even though he said that's not true, that doesn't mean that she didn't do it, right? It's just, so it's like they're like trying to like muddy the
Uh-huh.
waters again. In
Right.
this, bro, this case is crazy, dog.
So
This
so
is crazy.
the defense's goal is to confuse the jury.
Mm-hmm.
The defense's goal is to confuse uh the jury. Kelsey's goal, I suppose, she mad at Meg. Uh, I'm sure she's mad at Tory now from the standpoint that he, you know, uh, is his lawyer is putting her uh at risk and in jeopardy by saying she's the shooter. She testified that she did not shoot Megan and that it was ridiculous to even state that possibility. Obviously, people have had a lot of questions about gunshot residue being on both Tory and on Kelsey. The thing that you have to understand about gunshot residue is that every time that a gun is fired, essentially a cloud of, I'm gonna just call it smoke, but a cloud of debris appears, and that cloud of debris is going to possibly disperse itself on anybody that is within the proximity of the rounds fired. So if, for example, Tory Lanez shot a gun and he shot it out of a vehicle and Kelsey was in that vehicle at the time it was fired, it is very possible for the debris to for the gunshot residue uh, to get on both people because again, this is a cloud of smoke that is being dispersed in a small area, and so it's not uh, suspicious that it's on two people if those two people were in close proximity to one another. Uh, the thing that we also know through Kelsey's testimony is that Tory threatened her with a gun. At first, she was scared to testify this, or she was resistant initially to talk about it, but she eventually did acknowledge that Tory threatened her with a gun at that point, at some point that night. So through that testimony, we now understand that at some point Tory Lanez did have a gun. So there was a gun present at the scene. Uh, when the gun was found that night, all of the rounds had been expended, and it was essentially in the form that it is when you shoot all the rounds when the clip is back, right? So that's the way that the weapon was found, and the officers stated that the gun was still warm. The weapon was still warm at that time, which means that it was recently fired within the time frame. Uh, the time between Kelsey's text message to the bodyguard that uh, Meg's been shot by Tory, get help 911, and the time that people in the neighborhood called and said that there's been a shooting that they were reporting was within 5 minutes of each other. So again, sometimes you don't really have to look at what people are saying on the stand. You can look at how the facts are lining up. If I text somebody within 5 minutes, and there's also two police calls that come in within that same time frame, and the one is saying, I was threatened with a gun by Tory. I'm sending out text messages saying Tory shot Meg, and two people are calling and saying, "Hey, I just heard 5 shots, and we got 5 shell cases." somebody called and said 5 shots. You got somebody saying Tory shot Meg. You got Meg who's actually shot. Uh, those are the ways that you are beginning to put the facts of the case together. Not necessarily the fact that somebody who told one statement at one time is now telling another version of the story or resisting to tell the story at all. Because what has being shown is that maybe she has a reason to lie because she's mad at Meg now, due to whatever went down with them as a result
Do
of
you
conflict.
do you think that because of the lack of credibility, right, that Kelsey has
Mhm.
shown herself to be, like who do you like? What I'm trying to figure out is like, do
Does
you
that
think that
favor
really
more?
is who does that favor more right now? Because I mean, I know that she's the state's witness, but
Right.
I think that
So
do you think what I'm saying is, do you think the jury will see through her testimony, right? Like even if we didn't hear the 80-minute video of her
mhm.
statement, right? Do you think that the jury will see through her testimony and align it with what Megan has said, and then therefore giving more credence to Megan's testimony, or do you think that that's a long shot for a jury to actually do in a trial like this?
so what I'll say is this. I think that I, I think that regardless of her testimony still was favoring the prosecution. But I think her testimony before the 80-minute video favored the prosecution less than what it does with the video. I don't think that the defense was strong with them with them having a whodunit defense, because that's essentially what they had is you can't prove Tory did it because she could have done it. That's their defense. That's their theory of the
Yeah.
case. I don't think that was a strong uh, defense. Initially, their theory of the case was Meg wasn't shot. Remember, at first,
Yeah,
like a long time ago,
they would say she wasn't
right?
shot. That's right.
Yeah, like they were
That's
saying,
right.
they were just So I would say that in because of the contentious nature of the conversation, if the prosecution put her on as a star witness or something like that, like if she was, supposed to be the home run, then I would say maybe it would be more hurtful to the prosecution in that regard. But because it was clear that she was a non-compliant witness, that she was attempting that her desire was to be resistant to being direct. Um, I think that people listening and understanding, like, okay, Megan was shot by somebody in their vehicle. The girl did
Mm-hmm.
testify that that somebody that Tory threatened her with the gun. So I know Tory has a gun. Uh, it the medical examiners or the doctors, the experts,
Oh
did
yeah, the surgeon.
testify that
Yeah, yeah,
Megan was
yeah.
shot in her feet, right? And so those are the things that are going to matter the most is the results of what occurred, and those are in my opinion, things that the prosecution was going to have to really focus the jury in on. But now the prosecution
Mm-hmm.
can focus the jury in on what this woman said in September and why it's changed now. You know what I mean? Like they can
It,
basically make her dismiss what she's changed by just showing this is what she said in September, y'all.
yeah, effectively impeaching all of prior testimony up until this point. You know what I mean? Either aligning with some or impeaching other pieces of it. But I guess like I'm now that this 80-minute video is gonna get in, I'm wondering like what is gonna be the defense's response if it comes out that one, everything Kelsey just said, more or less, is untrue, right? Is
Mhm.
not true. And then here's how you really saw it in the 80-minute statement to detectives, right? Or whatever she
Yeah.
was ranting on or whatever like that. And to me, I don't know how you come back from a video like that if it leans in the favor of pinpointing Tory as the gunman, right? As the actual shooter. Like I don't know how you get around
So
that. I
so
don't know.
here is the here's the issue. Here is the issue with what happened when the lawyer fucked up. Because he was cross-examining yesterday, that's normally your last bite at the apple with that witness is your cross-examination.
That's right.
Uh, when they open it up to redirect, that means now the state gets the last bite of the apple at Kelsey because that was their witness. Sometimes the court will allow recross on on a witness, but it's only in a very limited scope, and that scope is limited to information that may have been introduced in redirect. So you can only talk about uh, or question or challenge what was newly introduced on redirect. The problem with this is I don't know that the judge is going to grant it. The judges don't always grant a recross. Uh, so the jury is going to watch an 80-minute video of Kelsey talking to police. Uh, that video is likely now going to come into evidence substantively. So the jury will be back there with that video, and if they want to watch it again over and over again, they can, because it's going to be admitted into evidence. Um, and one of the reasons that it's also admitted is because the lawyer was trying to discuss the tactics that the DA's office used in procuring the statement from from the lawyer was trying a lot of different things that was
Well,
kind of
well,
out the
you know,
box.
the lawyer, first of all, like I thought it was actually terrible as well too, though. When he was going back and forth with one of the detectives on doing an investigation, and this is actually, I guess, a high point for the defense, and it wasn't that many, but I feel like this was a high point from what I read, which was like he kind of was trying to get at the heart of the fact that the detective didn't do a thorough investigation. Oh, I think CJ dropped off, y'all. I don't know,
No,
is
I'm
that
still here.
internet acting up?
I
Okay.
was
Uh you were switching screen.
yeah,
But a
man.
thorough
I'm finessing over here.
yeah. But basically trying to get at the fact that like the investigator didn't do a thorough investigation. So therefore, right, then this whole investigation is a wash, right? Like, if we don't have all the facts, essentially,
Mhm.
how can you convict someone if we haven't done a thorough investigation
Right.
by the police department? And sometimes that like works.
Yeah.
I you know what I'm saying, and I'm sure you've seen this in trial, CJ, when you kind of impeach or kind of poke holes in the investigation itself.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure.
I think that because of all the extraneous evidence that's coming in by way of just either social media, or other statements that were recorded, like the 80-minute testimony, or a statement that's going to be coming in today, I just feel like that ain't going to be enough this time around. You know what I mean? I think that if we had a DWI case and Buddy
Uh-huh.
didn't do a thorough investigation, I could see that being thrown out then, right? Like
Yeah.
something like that. But in a
Yeah. I
case
mean,
like this, I mean, like, bruh, okay,
yeah.
I didn't look through every single Instagram messenger page, right, bro? I don't know if that's damning enough.
Yeah.
I can see how it can be. I can see how the jury can look at it and go, oh man, oh man, the police department didn't do all they could. But it's
I'll
like,
say
bro,
this. Trials aren't necessarily as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Sometimes it's like point 0.5 plus point 0.5 plus point 0.5 plus point 0.5 equals 2.
yeah,
And what I mean by that is you have to piece it together. It's like you're trying to tell an entire story. You're trying to create a movie. You're trying to paint the picture for people, but in order to do that, you're doing it with pieces, not necessarily with one solid thing always. You're trying to tell a story. And again, the thing that we know we have is we have a woman who was shot, who was bleeding, who we found bullet fragments in her foot. So we know that a person was shot. We know that there were two people in the vehicle. Uh, one of
wait,
them, Kelsey, or three people in the vehicle. Go ahead.
Oh my god, bro! This is going back to the whole like Megan after Megan was shot, and then immediately in response, Kelsey texting the security guard, "Hey, dial 911 because Megan has been shot." In the
Yes,
testimony on the stand, right during the cross,
yes,
not during the cross, during the direct. I think it was a criminal double check. This was I think this was actually during the cross, and literally on the surgeon. I'm sorry, with Kelsey. Kelsey said the question. DA Todd said, "You don't have immunity to perjure yourself on the stand." Basically, hey, you know what I mean? And then Kelsey says, "Yes, ma'am." And then she proceeds to ask if Megan was shot that night again. Like so, she asked if was Megan shot that night. She said again. This is Kelsey saying again. Her team told me she stepped on glass as if she wasn't actually in the vehicle, as if
right,
she wasn't with them. Like,
right.
ma'am, were you with them that night or were
She
you
said
not with
she
them that
said she
night?
didn't see Megan limping. She said, I didn't see Megan limping, is what Kelsey testified on the stand. Y'all, there is a video with Kelsey next to Megan limping. This is like you can't make this shit up, bro. Like I I saw someone ask a question about have I ever seen someone bring their small child to court uh as a way to sway a jury for sympathy. Uh People try a lot of tactics to humanize themselves to juries in a way that you know uh, people are drastic when they in drastic times. I
Oh,
didn't think
that
it
you.
was very tasteful. Yeah, go ahead, Willow.
I just want to address the question that's actually one of the comments. So somebody asked, "Who's Kelsey?" So you're just jumping on one. Thank you for joining. Two, though, you're joining Black people be knowing. I'm sorry we couldn't have Sue and April up here with us today. Our other, co-counsel on this analysis. But where we at right now is really going through the testimony of Kelsey. Kelsey is the former assistant slash best friend of Megan, right? And so we're basically trying to go through one, the 80-minute video is going to be getting played today, right? For the entire courtroom to hear, including the jurors. We're also talking about the kind of flip flop nature of uh, of Kelsey's testimony and her being to some degree, in a large part, a hostile witness, even though it was one of the DA's or the prosecution's witness that they called to the stand, and essentially how we got to the 80-minute um, uh, um, kind of statement out of court, really hearsay statement being allowed in, right? The full scope of it is because on cross, when the defense really should have stayed away from the actual statement that was made in September, they leaned into it, and when they lean into it, then the DA comes back and say, you know what, I'm glad we're here because now you've opened the door in terms of relevancy, right, for the entire scope of that 80-minute window. Because now that's the thing. Anytime, look, y'all, anytime somebody talks about a character of anything, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you now open the door. It was a hearsay statement that was made out of court, right, or whatever it is, and you talk about it, right? If it's my witness, I can't bring it in. But if you then question the witness in a way that allows me to then bring in more evidence I want to bring in, that's where we're at with this 80-minute testimony, right? And so a statement that's going to come in later today. But again, though, on the Kelsey piece, Kelsey is the former best friend and assistant, and in her testimony to the DA yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever, a day and a half ago now, the when if y'all remember when Megan was shot that night, the surgeon already testified that he treated Megan for wounds on both of her feet, right? So this is the surgeon comes down, and then Kelsey steps on the stand, and then Kelsey says, basically, I don't know what y'all talking about. She got shot. Her team told me that she stepped on glass that night. And so we're kind of in this moment of going and trying to figure out a piece together a lot of what was said. And remember though, Kelsey said she texted, help, Tory shot Meg. And
Right,
also, and Kelsey, and somebody said Kelsey shot in a shade room chat, right? Kelsey, somebody said Kelsey shot Meg. And then Tory then said that ain't true. Now he didn't say that that's not true that Kelsey didn't shoot. He didn't say one. That's not true that Kelsey didn't shoot. He didn't say that. He just said that's not true. So
In
we trying
response
to
to the person who
kind of
said,
piece everything. It's a lot of
inter-
like exactly in response to the person, right?
right.
And so now the defense is trying to skirt around the fact that hey, because he's a celebrity, he doesn't always control his accounts, and so therefore he, in all likelihood, did not even respond to that person. So they're trying to like again muddy the waters a
But if
bit to
you
kind of
think that
confuse
that
George.
motherfucker was letting somebody else control his goddamn social media after he fucking is alleged of having shot somebody, y'all out y'all motherfucking mind. I mean, it's yeah. Go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
so after the the DA said, "Hey, didn't you say moments after Megan was shot that you text help Tory shot Meg?" And then Kelsey comes back so the DA saying, "Hey, did you say this?" And then Kelsey comes back and says, "That's my assumption." So after she said that her team said and told her she stepped on glass, the DA comes back and said, "Didn't you send a text that said help Tory shot Meg?" And then Kelsey comes back once again and says that that's my assumption. Kelsey testified. She said that she did hear gunshots that night, but she did not see Meg limping.
See,
So,
but there's a video of her
so
standing next to Meg limping. So there is a video of like this motherfucker. Like it's like you know what I mean. Who you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes? Like, what you know what I mean? Like that's essentially the level of absurdity in her attempting to pretend to not have knowledge of something that she has intimate knowledge of. Uh, Falaco asked, you know, who presented the better case so far? What I say is this, Falaco. The prosecution has the better facts. The prosecution has the better facts to present their case. They presented it fine up until Kelsey, who was their witness, got to the stand. And when Kelsey got to the stand, I think her intent was to intentionally sabotage uh, the case with her testimony and, bring her credibility into question. Um, she said just enough to be used for the purpose of the prosecution. She did testify that Tory Lanez pulled out a gun on her and threatened her. She did testify that Tory Lanez offered her $1 million, but not just her, but that he mentioned $1 million and that it was in relationship to the trial. She did testify to those things, but she now claims that she didn't see Meg get shot, that she didn't see Tory shooting, that she didn't see Megan limping, uh, and that she has brain fog all of a sudden. As it relates to her, somebody asked about her use immunity. So here's the thing with the use immunity aspect of it, uh, meaning she has immunity to testify in this case, so that anything that's essentially related to this case that the court is already aware of, they're not going to use it against her to prosecute her. So if you accepted a bribe, or if you were offered a bribe, or if you did something uh, that may be criminal here, we're not going to try you for it. So we're not going to try you for crimes of which we are aware. We may, however, try you for crimes of which we become aware,
aware
like
of. Yep.
perjury,
Yep.
like
Yep.
perjury. And so the reason that she's hesitant is because she can't recall probably what they are aware of and what they're not aware of. She may want to lie on the stand right now, but if they have evidence that she's lying, like when she says, "I didn't see Tori shoot Meg," but then they got a text message of you saying Tori shot Meg. Guess what? Like, these are things that if we want to pursue a perjury charge against you,
We
and
can.
now we can use
Like,
that because now you've perjured yourself, and now that
mm-hmm.
this is a new crime, and so
Mm-hmm.
we can bring, like, what we agreed was that anything arising out of this particular instance, we're not going to
That's
charge you
right.
with.
That's right.
Uh, and so a lot of people were thinking it was going to be like the episode of Power, where Power Book 2, if you ain't never watched that, where one cat got immunity, the boy that be working with Tariq. Oh shoot, I forgot I got a a call at 11:30. Do you want to like? Can we jump off for a second and jump back on? Do you have time today, or you it's a wrap for you
Yeah,
today?
yeah. No, I got a little more time, bro. I just want to like before we jump on this call, right? Because I
Yeah,
think
for before I
the
jump on the call.
testimony about Kelsey is
Yeah,
crazy. And so when the defense attorney for Tory is actually on cross with Kelsey, he's asking on behalf of obviously Tory, has my client Tory or paid you anything? And Kelsey replied, no. Then Kelsey comes back without even being asked to say this, right? Just on her own volition. Goes, I would actually like to make that very clear. I've seen some things from Meg's attorneys, and I'm tired of that line. So no, I don't. It's just a weird
I
way
think
to
she
kind
was
of.
saying that she didn't get paid. I think she was saying I did not get paid $1 million essentially, and the purpose of them asking was not to determine whether or not she actually got paid the $1 million. It was to show that Tory offered $1 million for their silence. That was their purpose. Is him having the desire for them to be quiet and a willingness to bribe or offer them $1 million in order to silence them.
And lastly, before you go though, just so we kind of put a wrap on the surgeon and kind of like everything that happened that night in terms of the text that was made by Kelsey, her testimony in court, but it was also reported that there were two 911 calls from the neighbors reporting gunfire, and that happened at almost the same exact time in which Megan was shot.
Yeah.
And a surveillance video from a nearby home that includes audio of the gunfire, and then photos of Meg's wounded feet have also been entered into evidence. And the jurors today saw X-ray images during the surgeon's testimony. And so, yeah. So, y'all, CJ got to
X.
go. We'll be.
No, no. I mean, I'm gonna stick around for a few more. I just texted them, let them know, hey, look, hold off for a second. Uh I'm making some shake right now. So
we going
let's
we
let's
gonna
let,
stick
yeah,
around.
let's keep the party going. Um yeah, no, no, no. Absolutely. Rilla, what you just said is on point. Like essentially what's going on is Tory's lawyers outsmarted themselves by attempting to attack the credibility of the detective.
Yep.
The he was focused on the wrong things. Like, if anything, I would just lean into uh old girl being a liar. Like, I would have leaned into her being a liar. I wouldn't have focused on because it seemed like what he wanted to do was cross-examine her on what she said in September. And I think that the reason that he wanted to do that is because what she said in September hurts his client. But by
Yeah.
focusing on something that you can't cross-examine somebody on, by focusing on the video rather than
Yeah.
cross-examining her on being a lying
A
ass
liar.
person,
Yeah.
uh, he opened the door to them now going back and showing the video. And now, when the prosecution gets to closing, the only thing that they got to do is tell her, like tell the people, focus on that motherfucking video and what she said in that video. She had reason a lot of day. Kelsey was mad. She was this. She was that. Like I can tell the jury that. I can talk to when I can talk to the jury. I can tell them all of those things. Like, hey, this is what she said in September. Why is that significant? At that time, she said this, this, and this. These are the things that happened in addition to that. We know that Meg was shot. We know that Tory threatened Kelsey with a gun. We saw Tory today try to accuse Kelsey of being the shooter. Kelsey said it was ridiculous to believe that she was the shooter. And here's a text message of Kelsey saying Tory shot Meg. Here is a video of Kelsey saying Tory shot Meg. Here are bullets in Meg's foot. Here is audio of people hearing the gunshots in the neighborhood. Here are phone calls of people saying that they heard 5 shots. Here is a gun next to Tory. Here is gunshot
It
residue
helps
next to
911.
next to. Oh shit, what's that? Oh, that's me,
No, no,
ain't
no,
it?
no, no. That was I was trying to reply to somebody. Somebody said, "Does it help to bring your child?" No. there ain't no sympathy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is
Yeah,
this is
like
assault with a
people don't give
deadly
a fuck.
weapon. Yeah, if you don't give a
Like
goddamn, you brought up your child, man. Like
like
what? Like
they don't give a fuck about us. Like what? Like no, bruh,
uh,
no, they don't care about that. Like, I actually think that it may make some people more aggravated with you because like why
why
you
you
got your
subjecting this
kid
child?
up
Got your
here?
child? And yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Nobody's
So
bringing their
it
child to
actually
no shit like that.
it actually may turn people off to do it. Um but the tactics that they utilize were uh it was clever to try that approach, but it was not smart once once you had it's almost like they had gotten away, they had eluded they had eluded the train that was on the track, and then they got back on the track. Like they put themselves back on it. Uh and that's not never intelligent. uh you kind of want to move beyond that when you like when I saw it, I immediately said, "Oh shit, they're opening up the scope of what is going to be allowed on recross by focusing in on that video." Like I like literally like tweeted it as soon as I saw uh Megan Cuniff's Twitter thread about the line of questioning the lawyer was going down. And so I'm wondering, I'm wondering if they're watching the video now. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm
I'm not
imagining
seeing.
that.
I'm not seeing anything being reported out that the video actually like started to be played in the courtroom.
Okay, because they're in California, they're in LA, so
Yeah, so they probably just getting going.
yeah,
And
it's
it
just
seems
9 o'clock
like
over there.
yeah, it seems like they've been pretty much starting testimony right around 10:30. So we got maybe
Yeah,
another 30 minutes to an hour before they begin testimony again.
yeah. So
Uh,
we're gonna be tapping in and looking into that. I really appreciate y'all for like tuning in with us, man. Like this is something that we enjoy doing, and we like talking to y'all and interacting with y'all. And hopefully, this was informative. And we want to talk to y'all in a real way, man, because lawyers get on different programs and they be talking their shit in a way that's why I love our team. I love Rillo. I love Sue Ann and April because I mean we this is how we communicate, and I think that people can
y'all should
appreciate
y'all should see our
uh
threads. Our threads be like
yeah,
this. Our
right.
chats.
Like if you get the opportunity, pull up to us on all of our platforms, y'all. Like we're on Twitter at BBE Black No Chaser. So I'm gonna put how you can follow us on each of our platforms in here so
Thanks,
you can see it.
Marissa. Yeah, we coming back though. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna come
Yeah, you're
back.
right. Not everyone speaks legalese, y'all. You right. I don't even speak legalese. I hate it. It just never really did
Yeah,
sit right with me. I think in order to be effective counsel, you got to be an effective communicator. And speaking people over and around people is just not. It becomes ineffective.
right.
And it's actually kind of condescending and quite arrogant. But yeah,
Facts. Yeah,
we we
yeah,
coming
man.
back later. We coming back later. So as soon as the video comes out, obviously, I'm not sure if we will be able to see it. I'm pretty sure we won't. But there'll be we'll come back and try to get as much of you out as we can about any updates and try to explain exactly what's happening in the trial. But again, like I just said, thank y'all so much for chiming in, spending a little hour of your day with us. But yeah, we
Yeah,
gonna
man.
come on back later. Come on back later. You know what I mean? And
I
maybe
look.
Sue Ann and April. Maybe Sue Ann and April gonna pull up next time.
Right,
Who knows?
right. Hey, look, hey, look. They some superstars, so hopefully we can get them on board too.
Yeah.
Thank y'all again so much. Hey, think black, the black unapologetic. We out. Peace.